Welcome back to the Lap Podcast. I am Tristan Rines, sitting alongside the one and only Khaki, Kevin Walker. This is your destination Formula One podcast as we walk into the British Grand Prix following a pretty interesting Austrian Grand Prix last time out. I know you had a fun time. I had a less than fun time. Kimmy's big crash. Williams, I'm going to dampen your mood a little bit. Williams didn't even cross the line at the end of the race. Silly driver season rumors, or silly season rumors, whatever you want to call them. We're going to be talking about those at length and so much more. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to, what's our next goal? 70 subscribers.
Yeah, y'all didn't hit 69 by the end of the month, which, it's okay. I think last I checked, we were at 62. Not to say that we don't appreciate all 62 of you. We do. Trust me, we do. We're going to reset, okay? We're not going to put a goal for the end of the month. We're going to keep our goal at 100 by the end of the year. So tell your grandma, tell your friends, tell your dog, tell your sister,
boss.
tell your boss, tell your people that don't know F1.
Tell them to start watching F1.
Definitely tell them to start watching F1.
Subscribe to the podcast to put us in front of more Formula One fans like yourself and grow this community out, get more people talking, get more people in the comments section just like you. So make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. And if you're feeling like it, give us a like. That also helps with the algorithm. Maybe even get the bell on if you're feeling dangerous and share it with your friends. But let's get into it. Let's start right at the front. Lando Norris keeping himself promptly in this World Drivers' Championship fight. Yes. A huge win, exceeding my expectations.
Yes.
Just about meeting yours, considering you picked him to win. How did you feel seeing Lando Norris cross the finish line?
I felt a huge weight lifted off my shoulders as if I was the one in the car. I texted you this.
You're just that fast, bro.
Yeah,
you're just the fastest.
I texted you this. I was watching the race / listening to the race. At the time that it was occurring, and you were a little bit behind me, so I couldn't spoil too much. But I'm literally sitting there, and I'm watching Lando and Oscar fight. Like the first 11 laps of the race was just they're right on it. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like twiddling my fingers. I'm twiddling my thumbs. Like I'm like doing all my nervous antics. Like, dude, I'm freaking out because one, I'm scared Oscar's going to pass him. Two, I'm scared that they're going to crash. Three, like you don't really know what's going to happen. They kept it clean. They kept it competitive. I loved the jousting of different side of the garages going against each other. Not really, hey, we're going to focus on this like a team. Like, kind of, do you remember when you were like, hey, McLaren's are going to reset themselves? They're going to be like, hey, we're going to go in. We're going to start doing things together. And I was like, no, I think they're going to let them kind of do their thing for a little bit longer. I think that's exactly what we saw in Austria. Super proud of Lando. He did an incredible job. He had to win that race to stay in contention. If Oscar would have won that race, it's done. Seal the books. It's over. Is it 15 points that Lando's behind Oscar right now in the Drivers' Championship? I want to say
sounds about right.
So a big weekend for Lando, but now we got to stack it together. So my instant reactions, let me go to yours.
I think McLaren absolutely squandered Oscar's opportunity to win this race.
Of course you do.
I sure do. And I don't think it's that controversial of a take. Mostly Oscar bringing himself within the picture, flat spotting towards the end of that little jousting session, the way that you wanted to describe it. Getting that flat spot, McLaren immediately telling Lando Norris to come in and pit, getting a fresher set of tires and telling, oh, no, Oscar, you're fine. The day today is great.
I think the word
you're lapping even faster, actually.
I think the word was gaslight.
They absolutely gaslit this man. I think that they gaslit him for about 3 to 4 laps, told him that, oh, your lap times are great. The data we're getting, it looks fantastic. And all the while, Lando Norris being able to build up that gap with fresher tires at the front of the field with clean air. It kind of removed Oscar from the race until it didn't late, when the traffic is what basically stopped him from getting a real shot at winning this race late.
It really didn't pick back up like it was in the first 12 laps or so.
No, which is unfortunate because this was still a really fun race at the end of the day. And we're going to talk about that in the Rate the Race segment, but I do think that conspiratorially there is a little bit there. And McLaren absolutely knew what they were doing. Oscar knew at a certain level, I feel like, that they were doing it on purpose too. There's no way that you flat spot your front right tire after, giving it a nice send coming downhill, and you're going to have better lap times. The delta was getting built there. And overall, I'm going to give kudos to Lando. He did everything he needed to win that race. He drove well, fighting through traffic. Oscar Piastri got caught out by Franco Colapinto and started mowing the grass on the downhill once again. A little bit of a tough day for the Australian, who still finished P2. The McLarens were disgusting this weekend.
I think
they were 19 seconds ahead of the next closest constructor in Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. They were a minute ahead of the Mercedes team, who were in fifth.
So if I might, and another thing to keep in mind with the coming out of Austria, why there was so much lapping and so much different times is just because it was a shorter track. There was lapping going on. We knew that this was going to be probably
almost the entire
problem.
field got lapped this race.
We knew this was going to be a problem, if you will. But something I wanted to point out is this is, in my opinion, what we wanted from McLaren. This is what we've been craving from McLaren, is a literal fight between the best two cars on the grid. You can say what you want about the drivers, whatever. I don't care. This is the best two cars on the grid. And we've got exactly what we wanted. All year, it's been Lando dealing with Oscar, Oscar dealing with Lando, or here's spurts of Mercedes, spurts of Ferrari. But this past weekend was McLaren's all the while. It didn't matter what was going on. If Lando crashed, if Oscar crashed, as long as they didn't run into each other, a McLaren was going to finish number one. That was just evident at that point. This is exactly what we've been wanting all year long, and we finally got it.
I mean, the battling was fun.
The battling was awesome.
The first 17 laps of this race were very, very entertaining. But
now, if you're not a McLaren fan, then
no, it was still entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but I still look at this and go, Oscar was going to pass him. It was inevitable because he held DRS for a huge amount of time. The fact that Lando kept him at bay is still fantastic, and he gets kudos for that. The defense was great. Lando punched in a half-second lap faster than everybody else in the field in qualifying, so we knew that he was very comfortable. He was right at home. But it's not like Oscar just let him run away with it.
Oh, yeah,
and closing that gap almost all the way to DRS before those blue flag traffic between the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso and Gabriel Bortoleto having to duel it out towards the end of that race. If Piastri doesn't get caught up in all that and the Franco Colapinto thing doesn't happen, it was almost like the F1 world, the F1 gods are kind of putting everything they could between the charge of Oscar Piastri to get back to Lando Norris.
I because it was how much you hate Lando Norris.
It has nothing to do with hate. It's praise to Lando for winning, but it's a lot of praise to Oscar for being able to pull that 7-second gap back in the same machinery with the same conditions that Lando's going through and almost pulling off the win nonetheless.
I think about it like this. Before Austria, Lando was charging in Canada. And if, again, you want to say, hey, McLaren held Oscar back from, taking this race win, you can kind of say the same thing in Canada because Lando was the faster car at that time. And if they really wanted to, they could have let Lando through because he was the faster car, but they let him duke it out just like they let him duke it out in Austria.
Yeah, they duked it out, and it was well done. But the difference between Austria and Canada is that Oscar Piastri didn't crash out.
True.
Right.
So and that thing that
so McLaren were still able to bring home
that
the
just
maximum
goes
amount
into
of points.
that just goes into the inconsistency of Lando Norris, like being a championship level driver and mowing the grass on the weekend.
He's definitely keeping it interesting though. As far as this fight at the front, Lando did need this win. I will agree with you on that. My expectations were if he gets P5, that's still a great win, and a personal win at that, because crashing in Canada the way he crashed, boggling it, basically costing the team some points. Yeah, he was incredibly embarrassed, as he should have been, for that result, but this was fantastic. This is a huge confidence booster for Lando. Now he's going to walk into the British Grand Prix with all that extra confidence. I think that's only going to make this weekend that much more interesting, while other teams are in the mix as well. You're never going to be able to count out Lewis Hamilton. You're not going to be able to count out the Mercedes because of the temperature difference there too. This is going to be a fun fight at the front. Whether the McLarens are actually leading the pack is going to be an entire conversation on its own, but Lando Norris getting the win that he got in Austria kept things and is going to continue to keep things very, very
One last thing before we leave this topic. Watching the McLarens fight as far ahead as they were, it was almost like when Max Verstappen was leading the field and lapping everybody, but if he had a teammate that was actually doing the same thing. Like that year that Red Bull dominated, that year that Max Verstappen dominated, if he had a car or he had a teammate that was matching him, that's what it felt like. Because they were just so far ahead.
So you mean like Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton in 2016?
Yeah, something like that.
That'd be a better comp.
Well, I can only speak as to what I've seen and what I've experienced.
Well, like,
I've
watched, I mean, the Red Bull's got their they have a whole bag of worms that we're going to talk about a little bit later anyway. But nonetheless, the McLaren duo, they're keeping the season very entertaining so far. I think the consistency still wins out. I've been hammering this point home for multiple weeks at this point. Piastri is overall a more consistent driver, something that I don't think that you can refute.
No.
And,
I literally,
but Lando Norris is he's doing everything he can to keep it interesting. And we've got this as we walk into the British Grand Prix, like that's just the halfway point. We still got 12 more races to go after this weekend to complete this entire season. I really do think it's going to come down to either I think Qatar or Abu Dhabi, probably. It just depends on how far away Oscar has gotten.
Hear that? Y'all got to keep tuning in and staying up to date with us, or else you're not going to know what the hell's going on.
That's a great point. And I want to know what you guys think of this conflict down in the comments below.
Yeah, I get it. I'm a Lando truther. Just so what? Whatever.
Yeah. Tell him how crazy he is. Let us know what you guys think of this at the end of the season. Who do you think is actually going to come out on top? Does Lando piece it together? Does this stack up and become win after win? Who knows? Let us know.
And then let Tristan know about how terrible his weekend was.
Terrible. A weekend to forget. Let's talk about Kimi Antonelli's crash. I don't know. We need to spend, more than 40 seconds on this. But in my eyes, look, he's activating Max Verstappen's exit clause. This was a calculated attack. Toto Wolff sent him out there to lock up going into turn 3 to absolutely spear the reigning world champion and get him at Brackley. Just a nice little move over.
I have a different conspiracy.
Oh, okay. Because I thought that mine was pretty sound. So no,
not that yours isn't sound.
No,
My conspiracy is that Max had a chat with Kimi, and he said, "Look, you're Rook. You have to do this. If you don't,
we're not going to be able to be best buds.
We're not going to be able to be best buds, and I can't give you all my Max Verstappen secrets."
I mean,
so what he did was he said, "Look, I've got one more weekend until I'm through with this race ban BS."
I've never seen Max not pissed off about getting DNF'd, right? I mean, he was so calm.
So he goes to Kimi. He's
dude,
like,
yeah, and it's just such I couldn't believe it.
He goes to Kimi and he's like, "Kimi,
honest mistake, buddy.
I need
what happens?
I need you to do something that not even the F1 world could predict. I need you to take me out of my home race on turn 3. I need you to just have a massive lockup. Just take me out of the race. I don't want I don't want like a front clip. I don't want it like, oh, you has to go pit and restart. No, I want to be out of the race. Kimi's like,
got you, fam.
And that's what happened. Now Max doesn't have to worry about a race ban.
Look, admittedly, yes, Max not being upset at the end of the race beyond how
we've seen how pissed off he gets.
That dude, yeah, he'll
like I'm not gonna lie to you. When I saw it, I was like, oh God, what is he gonna do?
He's about to ruin Kimi's season. No, I will say that it was remarkable sportsmanship by Max to just kind of take it on the chin. A learning moment for Kimi Antonelli. I'll give him some praise for that, and not just losing it. Like that's something all on its own. Kimi Antonelli, like realistically, let's pull back on the memes. A rookie moment.
Well, he also in that moment, if you saw the radio message, Max, I'm going to assume didn't think it was Kimi.
Oh, no way.
I think he in thought the moment, it was the other Mercedes, and he was quite upset.
Yeah. So, if it was George, it would have been fist fighting.
Oh, that would have been
on the way up the hill.
Cinema.
Oh, they would have been fighting. Realistically, though, yeah, it was a big rookie moment from Kimi Antonelli. Trying to overtake Bortoleto and Hadjar after getting put behind them basically in qualifying. Rough qualifying for Mercedes, generally speaking. Kimi Antonelli, I think, was almost like 9/10, I believe, off the front pace of Lando Norris, although everybody else was at least a half second behind him. Trying to make up some places. And on the replay of it, on the onboard of it, I think he just misjudged it completely. Yeah. I think he misjudged how much room he was going to have going the uphill. Obviously didn't have any room to overtake on the inside, shot it on the outside, shot it up the inside, had a huge lockup. The team also tried to give him some cushion as far as like that incident even happening, going, that shouldn't have happened that way at all. The car should have been able to brake and at least like try to make that corner. It shouldn't have locked up that bad. So they're like, it's on Kimi. And the way the FIA saw it, of course, it was on Kimi. They gave him 3 penalty points onto his license. And he's going to have a 3-place grid penalty in Silverstone, depending on qualifying. So he's getting every bit of the you messed up treatment 100% from all angles. But
do you think that's a bit harsh?
A 3-place grid penalty?
Yeah.
No.
For like a rookie mistake?
I don't think so. I think at a certain level, it has to be, you have to learn through consequences. And I'm not saying that like Kimi has been killing everybody all season. He's had a number of issues that were either his fault or not.
He's been killing the car.
Well, I mean, let's see. He had 1 DNF that wasn't his fault in Imola. He had the DNF in qualifying in Monaco, which was unfortunate. And then we finished that race, but then he had a DNF because of other engine problems in Spain. It's like realistically, like the rookie moment in Monaco was on him and this rookie moment's on him too, but learning experiences both times.
Sure.
Right. I'm a little surprised at the 3-place grid penalty along with the license strikes, but again, you got to learn one way or the other. And I think it's fair considering that who he hit, where he hit him at Red Bull's home race, it's kind of a big deal. So just being a little bit more conscientious, just wisen up a little bit. I think if this was Gabriel Bortoleto, it probably would have been the same thing. Isaac Hatcher.
Kimi can make up three places
in that thing. Yeah, this weekend I got a good feeling about it. So I just wanted to address it. I thought it was interesting. Obviously, it changed the characteristics of the entire race.
I like our conspiracies, though.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out if we're right. We'll find out right. We'll talk about that more.
We'll talk about it.
Ferrari. Let's highlight them. They're reaching a new peak, as they do in this podcast. They reach a peak and then they drop. So. In Silverstone, do not place bets on Lewis Hamilton getting that 10th win.
Are y'all placing bets on F1? Let us know. Just let us know. I'm just curious.
He doesn't need another gambling value.
Look, I'm very responsible with my gambling. Okay, and I do it legally. FanDuel can't sponsor us. We're in Texas.
Sure.
Nevertheless, I do mine legally. I'm just curious for our listeners. Do you bet on Formula One? And if you do.
Don't give him a parlay.
What's out there?
Don't give this man parlays.
I don't need parlays. I just need a little.
He needs to pay rent. Look, a new floor in Austria was a big deal for Ferrari. Shot them up the field. P3, P4 finish. Just about 20 seconds behind the McLarens, which, considering the day, everybody was miles behind you guys. So. Good result. Charles Leclerc getting his 3rd podium of the season, had other podiums in Saudi Arabia as well as Monaco, which pretty fitting for Charles. P4, I think, is the best result for Lewis Hamilton in a feature race this season outside of the sprint. I do believe so. Outside of the sprint win in China. So a really strong weekend overall for Ferrari. Overall, what do I think? Man.
Didn't they bring upgrades going into Austria or no?
This has been, that's the floor that I was just mentioning. So they have begun an upgrade package. It looks like they found some time. How stable is this? The same thing I'm going to say about Ferrari I've said about Mercedes when they won in Canada, right? Is it a trend or is this just one weekend? We're going to find out a lot. Obviously, they're going to be doing everything they can to make Lewis as happy as possible at his home Grand Prix. They got some cool new hats going for this Grand Prix.
They do have cool hats.
Roscoe's back for this Grand Prix, which is going to be fun for the fans.
Hey, shout out Roscoe.
Media. Yeah.
Pushing through.
Yeah.
He produced the F1 movie. We'll talk about that.
He was the heart and soul behind the F1 movie.
He had like 2 seconds.
But
we'll get to it.
Look, they've got a really good base now, though. And this is a good, strong result for Ferrari. The reality is, can you stack this up? They've been kind of, from what I understand, like about 50-50 on this 2025 car and then what they're putting forward into the next regs in 2026. They're only 1 point ahead of the Mercedes in the P2 fight because McLaren are so damn far ahead. Mercedes, as far as, the question I wanted to ask, do you think that Ferrari can take this result moving forward to effectively the second half of the season? Do we think that Ferrari are going to be able to actually fight for this P2?
I do believe that Ferrari can fight for the P2, especially if they're still working on the car and they're still looking for upgrades. I know that Lewis isn't entirely happy with what they've got going on right now.
Oh, you don't think he's happy?
Well, I mean, he's kind of sitting there. He's like praying to the car.
Brother, he's looked so depressed this year.
He doesn't understand what an upgrade is when people ask him about it. Like, he's not very thrilled with this car. This is not what he pictured in his move to Ferrari for sure. But I do think that they can continue to contend and fight for second place in the constructors.
I think that they're going to have the opportunity to get some wins this year. Ferrari are always kind of in the position where a good weekend's going to go their way. I think they're very similar to Mercedes in the sense that as far as a feature race win is concerned, they're hanging around the rim. You know what I mean?
They
might need a break to go their way. Like
Yeah.
if a McLaren has a bad setup that week, maybe it doesn't fit the characteristics of the papaya team. It goes the way of Ferrari, right?
We have seen a weekend where McLaren didn't absolutely dominate.
Yeah,
or destroy.
and it happened in Canada.
Yeah.
And Mercedes got their first win of the season, and there have been other times this year where they've lost. Like Max Verstappen had a fantastic drive in Japan, right? Got that win. McLaren have not dominated across the board, constructors wise, yes, but as far as week in week out race performance, like
there's still doors left.
We
open.
still don't know who's going to win every week.
There's still doors,
which
left
is the
open.
hallmark of a fun season. By
for
the way.
sure.
Like,
I mean,
we're
this
having
has been great.
We're having a really good year.
This has been great.
But as far as the case for yes, I think that Ferrari, with the good results, you cannot count out this duo. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, they're two of the most talented drivers on the grid, arguably.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. You got a 7-time world champion. Yeah, 7 championships between these guys. Charles obviously has his fair share of podiums and wins. And with Kimi Antonelli likely going to have some more moments this year, it's probably going to keep that window open for Ferrari to stay within P2. As far as the no, I don't think that Mercedes are the second or the third slowest car or the third fastest car, excuse me, is a better way of putting it. I think that overall performance wise, Mercedes are still the second fastest car this season.
I'm not arguing with that.
Yeah. So as far as keeping that window open, as much as
do you think at any point Ferrari could become the second fastest car?
I don't think that they're quite as close to Mercedes across every kind of format.
So then you're just thinking, if you're a Ferrari, you just continue to drive, continue to fight, and wait for a Kimi slip up or a George slip up. And
so far, having Kimi slip up is the entire reason why they're even in P2 at this point.
Yeah,
because Kimi's been able to hang as far as the performance is concerned. Far as the driving is concerned, he's been able to hang with Lewis and Charles, with the Ferrari being a little bit slower.
Yeah, he's just been having some rookie mistakes.
Again,
moments.
You can't rely on the spontaneity of those to keep up.
Another big word.
Oh, yeah. You can't rely on the spontaneity of those moments for Antonelli to continue to happen for a second place in the constructors. George has been one of the most consistent drivers this season in terms of top 5 results as well. Mercedes are doing this while putting about 60% of their resources into next year's car. Technical director, and I think Andrew Shovlin, as well as James Allison, have basically said they're not completely done with the 2025 car. They're going to continue to bring upgrades as well. As far as overall performance, I just want to see a trend from Ferrari. I want to see this
I think we will.
I want to see this connect across multiple Grand Prix weekends, the same way that I want to see Mercedes win across multiple Grand Prix weekends. Possibly not going to happen unless McLaren have some issues, but nonetheless, we need to see a trend. But so far, it's a good sign. And it makes things exciting when Ferrari are fighting towards the front. It just does.
For sure.
So I went
around.
Who's
not fighting for the front?
The midfield? The midfield. Look, I want to take a look and highlight the midfield from Austria because they really deserve it.
There was a lot of ups and downs.
Well, I mean, that's the midfield for you, right? But this was a really exciting weekend for the midfield cars. We're talking about Aston Martin. We're talking about Stake F1. We're talking about the V-Carbs, excuse me. And we're going to talk about Williams. Liam Lawson with his best result with a P6 in his Formula One career.
Congrats, Liam.
Nasty result. Honestly, just a really good drive and something that's going to be a huge confidence booster for him. I saw the video after the race. Isaac Hadjar, the guy is basically his biggest fan. Isaac Hadjar so far seems like a great teammate.
Can I ask you a question real quick while we're on this? I know this is not entirely what the midfield segment's supposed to be about, but I'm going to peel the curtains back just a little bit on some conversations that we had around this time last year.
Okay.
When we were audio only, real TLPs know. You had mentioned, hey, this Isaac Hadjar guy is going to be coming into F1.
Yep.
And you weren't exactly singing his praises. You say he's an extremely talented guy.
Yes.
But not exactly the best teammate, not exactly the nicest guy on the radio.
I don't know about the teammate part, but I definitely thought that he was going to become the most.
You thought he was going to be an issue.
Well, I thought that he was going to be unlikable pretty quickly.
I would argue that Isaac Hadjar is climbing the ladder of one of my favorite drivers on the grid.
Dude, Isaac's been very surprising to me. Well, and I say this because watching F2 last year, the amount of times you would hear Isaac Hadjar absolutely drill the team for something being wrong with the car or something not going his way. If it doesn't go Isaac's way, and this becomes a consistent thing, like if he has an Alex Albon style of year where he has like 3 straight DNFs, he'll let you have it. And it will very quickly become,
he's had his
why does this guy get off?
Yeah, he's had his moments for sure, but I just wanted to take a second.
Isaac's a cool dude. And if you ever see this, Isaac, you're a cool dude. But there's something about when you complain, it hits everybody in the ears a very funny way. Hits me in the ears a very funny way. I
was going to say, I appreciate
when he's ripping, look, I can admit when I'm wrong. When he's ripping into the team, it's simultaneously funny, but it is also like, dude, all right, relax. We heard you the first time. All right. No, but he has really been the biggest like cheerleader.
And he's done an incredible job for VCarb.
Between Liam as well as Yuki when he was his teammate too. Like
he's done an incredible job for VCarb.
Yeah, you could argue he's been the best rookie this year. You really can make that
argument.
You
really could make
he's finished in the top 10 a number of times. He's basically carrying VCarb as far as points are concerned. He's driving well above the expectations that I think a lot of people had for him.
For sure.
And honestly, like he's just not making a lot of mistakes. Like Antonelli's had his fair share of rookie moments. He's had 2 rookie moments this year. I can't think of any moments that Isaac Hadjar's had that have been like so blatantly obvious from like, yo, that was just a mess up.
Like his mistakes are like not making it into Q3, which is like that's crazy to think about for a VCarb.
But that is a rookie expectation.
Exactly.
Car.
But
like, you're going to have those.
His consistency has been making it into Q3.
No, and this is, like I mentioned it, you could argue that he's the rookie of the year. Like obviously Kimi's going to get more constructor points. He's in a better car. Like the situation's better. The team is better. But as far as just what you're seeing on track, the consistency, the performance, Isaac Hadjar has driven himself into a conversation for Red Bull's second seat already, which he does not even want.
That was gonna be my last point. Is he's so mature and responsible? He's like, I don't want any piece of that car at all.
Yep.
So like, leave me in this VCarb.
He's like, let me be a rookie. But
anyway, I just wanted to take a second.
We can't appreciate
even Isaac Hadjar.
Yeah, Isaac Hadjar's kicking ass, but Liam Lawson definitely kicked ass in Austria.
Good weekend.
The Stake F1 duo had a double points finish. Nico Hülkenberg, by the way, I know his teammate got driver of the day. I know his teammate got driver of the day. Gabriel Bortoleto absolutely deserved it. He kicked ass this weekend for sure. But starting P20, fighting all the way back into the points, he had a kick-ass result here last year too, with Haas finishing in P6. That was their best result of the season too.
I think Nico deserves towel of the day. I mean, driver of the day for sure.
Well, Gabriel Bortoleto hanging in there and fighting and keeping P8 was marvelous.
Do you think that this past weekend was what we can expect from Bortoleto in the future?
I don't think that the car is.
It was almost like a coming out party.
Look, I don't think that the car is consistent enough to say like this is going to be a guy who scores points every week.
No. I understand that. I'm saying, but whenever Bortoleto does get out of Sauber and he does find himself on a possibly contending team or a midfield team, legit.
Obviously, the future is going to have to open itself up to him at a certain level. Like we're going to talk about the silly season in the driver market. I don't think he's going to go anywhere anytime soon.
No, of course.
But Gabriel Bortoleto, I've said this for a while. You don't win the F3 championship and then the F2 championship back to back, and you're not a good driver.
Right.
He's a fantastic driver, and it was surprising to me that he was being talked about as somebody who might not make the grid last year within the silly season because there was only 1 seat left. Gabriel Bortoleto is very good. He's very talented. He had an insane drive in Monza last year. You know, a little bit of luck to start in Monza in F2 last to first. Watching that was incredible. So his ability and his racecraft is very mature. It's at the level of the other rookies, if not better, because he got the dang title. Isaac Hadjar in his battle all last year, unfortunately, ended the way it ended with Hadjar, having the DNF or DNS, didn't really start either. But Gabriel Bortoleto earned it, and he is a fantastic driver. I think he's a guy that sticks around for a while. Hopefully, he gets the opportunity to really show his skills in a top echelon vehicle. Yeah. He's going to be a part of a slog for Audi because they're coming in next year. Whole new operation, whole new team. And it's going to be a little bit of time. But if he decides that, hey, I want to be the face of this project, Nico Hülkenberg's a fantastic teammate. He's been bringing him along well. They seem to have a great relationship. Gabriel Bortoleto's been fantastic, and I'm happy that he had this result this weekend, that he got a driver of the day because he's very special.
We talked about the highs.
Well, no. One more high. One more, or actually, I had two more. I want to keep recognizing the midfield. I had a couple more. I had a couple more.
Okay.
We'll get there. Don't worry. You want to rush into the bad part.
I can't have a completely good.
Alonso had a very solid P7. He gained 6 more points for the Aston Martin team. He fought off a charge from his managee. By the way, Gabriel Bortoleto is managed by Fernando Alonso. Held on to 6 points. The upgrades since Imola have been fantastic for Fernando Alonso. He looks like he's having fun. He had a really, really, really good drive as well. And again, having that little battle towards the end of the race with him and Gabriel Bortoleto was just fun. Esteban Ocon also grabbing a point for P10. A good race day from Haas, who snagged a point, finished P10, P11. They're not always consistently right there at that cusp.
Yep.
So
none of us had that for P10.
No, yeah, none of us. So and Ollie Behrman had a really solid day. Now, to be fair, Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen don't DNF immediately off the jump, right? Maybe there's 2 less of these point scoring opportunities.
Well,
but
forgetting 2 other people, but we'll get to it.
Well, I mean, one of them was in the realm of points. But then let's get to the stuff you really want to talk about. Let's talk about Williams. Let's talk about the boys in blue, a 0 points weekend, a double DNF, and Albon with his 3rd straight DNF. Go ahead, Kev.
Did we ever even find out what actually happened to the car that made him retire?
It done blew the hell up. Blew up. And not BLUE blew up.
Like Sainz didn't even get to start the race.
Sainz I think he had a hydraulics issue. There was like a leak, and with the temperature coming off the brakes, I think it set everything on fire.
I think the thing that was interesting for Sainz was
and then for
when
Albon, blew up again.
When to go. Couldn't do the formation lap. As soon as they were about to as soon as they decided to postpone the formation lap, car takes off. They're like, okay, this
dude,
is a
he watched
weird.
the F1 movie.
Then it's like, dude, a little weird, but all right. Then
he's heating up his tires.
Then
he's getting a jump on the field.
Then we come back around. Then we're about to start.
He starts from the pit lane,
and then it's like, yeah, Carlos Sainz actually isn't going to race. So
the car is literally on fire.
Yeah,
right now.
so
It's melting at the end of the pit lane.
And then Albon's he's in the race, not too far in, and then there's like
retire the car.
Yeah, retire the car. And it's like
it
dude.
blew up as well.
Like it's almost like there's a curse over Williams. It's like,
look, you thought I
only
was
so much success for you.
You thought that I was crazy to say that
you said
Aston Martin might be able to creep back into this fight for P5.
I'm going to sit.
And I'm not saying that I can predict that you're going to double DNF. Like things like that are so hard to predict. The fact that to DNF 3 straight times is kind of an anomaly, unless you're Kimi Antonelli as well for some reason. But or at least at 3 moments. Whatever.
Look, I'm just saying, look, is it going to be Aston Martin? No. If any team is going to catch Williams at this rate, it is going to be VCarb.
I think VCarb are in that fight. Well, all I'm getting at is like Williams having a chokehold on P5 is not a given right now.
No.
The consistency.
It was. Now
the engine blowing up is something that's hard to account for.
I'm surprised. Is bad.
I'm kind of surprised at because they also race the Mercedes power unit. Mercedes have had some problems this year with George Russell's power unit failing in the Monaco qualifying, which is why he started out of the points.
Yep.
Kimi Antonelli crashed obviously in qualifying and then finished outside the points. Basically, it feels like a DNF at that point. But yeah, so they had issues. Kimi Antonelli's power unit failing in Imola, and now 3 straight races for Alex Albon, where if I'm not mistaken, all 3 of them have been some level of power unit failure.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's something brewing there. Maybe I don't know. Sometimes it's just about management. You only get a number of replacements, and sometimes these teams push them a little further. Than
I think for Williams, we'll wrap it up because this pod is going to run a little.
We still got
long.
plenty to talk.
Yeah, we got tons to talk about.
We haven't even gotten to the big part yet.
Last part for this midfield talk, mainly specifically Williams. You have to have a good Silverstone.
Yeah,
if you're Williams,
they got a neat little livery.
If you're Williams, you need to return to form and be in the P8 to P6 range. You just have to. You have to turn it around.
I think P8's more achievable, but yeah,
like you double points is obviously the goal. You have to walk away with points this weekend because if Liam Lawson's going to continue to stack, if Liam Lawson's going to continue to stack points on top of what Isaac Hadjar is already doing, then yes, VCarb will catch you for sure.
I mean, hell, or even Aston, man. The way that Fernando's driving right now, he's kicking ass.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Nonetheless, yeah, you can't be complacent. Look, let's rate this thing. How do you feel about it?
I already got my number.
Okay. What
Do you want me to do my number, or do you want me to do a breakdown?
Breakdown and then give me the number.
All right.
Come on, this is entertainment.
Lando win. McLaren fight at the front.
Lando win. That's what you said. That's really funny. Go ahead.
McLaren fight at the front. Williams double DNF, 1 DNS. Good weekend for Sauber.
We're doing forward sentences here, people. This is peak podcasting.
No, I'm trying to think of all the highlights in my head.
Kimi Antonelli,
from the weekend.
Max's crash.
Kimi and Max's crash. That's a lot of events. And not only that, but I've talked to at least 3 different people this week about this race that took place that I don't always talk to about Formula One. So it definitely caught the attention from others. It was a good race weekend.
This is one of the better ones for the season.
And no matter what side you land on, if you're a McLaren fan or not, it was an exciting race nevertheless. 8.2 for me.
It's actually pretty respectable. I actually respect that score because for me, yeah, like Lando converting and pole to win is big. There was some real racing at the front. There were some stakes at the end. I think the only thing that I really wanted out of this race that we just didn't quite get was seeing an overtake at the front. And that's not to say like, oh, I just wanted to see Lando lose, but like having an actual fight at the front always makes a race better.
I was all right without it.
I could tell, but no, I mean like overall, like having a fight at the front, like a true fight that lasts for a long time, that is at stake for the entire race.
It would have been probably closer to an 8.5, if not like an 8.5, if Oscar was able to storm back and put
like if
Oscar
had taken the lead of the race at one point, and then it would have been an interesting strategy thing where okay, now Lando's going to go for an undercut, right? Like we could have had some interesting battling where Lando punches, right? It could have made this race better. This is not a bad race. I think I gave it my initial score was a little low, but I'm going to give it an 8.1.
This guy.
8.1. That's a good number.
Okay.
You get an 8.2.
I know.
We're splitting hairs over 1/10 of a percentile.
I'm just saying, like, I really thought
look. The midfield was fun. The midfield battlings
me.
was great. No, I had to justify 1.1% to you. Good results from unexpected point getters and Nico Hülkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto, Esteban Ocon, Liam Lawson. I mean, look, it was fun race down the midfield too.
Good race for the year.
It was.
I would say at the moment top 5 from this year.
I'd have to do a breakdown for that. It'd probably be within the range though. It was fun. I mean, as far as like the first 11 rounds are concerned, yeah, it'd probably be top 5.
Are you ready? You ready?
We got to get into it.
Woo, boy.
Welcome to silly season, folks.
Silly season is in session. We just started July and we are here, and boy, is it hotter than ever.
Yeah. I mean, let's start off with a big one. We got to talk about the Max and Mercedes rumors. I woke up this morning, didn't want to get out of bed, but then I saw Twitter. F1 Twitter was going all.
I mean, that's always a great thing.
When you wake up and you see that everybody on Twitter is like, yo, George Russell's not going to be a Mercedes next year. And you're like, yo, is this confirmed? And it isn't. But there is a lot of speculation about advanced talks between Max Verstappen and Mercedes that are going on to potentially start as soon as next year. And yes, I am wearing this Max Verstappen hoodie on purpose today. Look, waking up, the speculation was heating up big time. Reports from Sky Sports Italy that Mercedes, again, Max Verstappen, advanced talks, unconfirmed. My question is this all just smoke? Possibly, and in my honest opinion, probably. We may differ on this, but I want to break down kind of every level of this speculation and does it make sense for either driver to have this decision happen? Does it make sense for Kimi? And I've said this before, I was going to be surprised if George Russell didn't have a contract by the British Grand Prix. That looks a lot more likely than it did prior. I had a conspiracy that they were holding off to announce it this upcoming weekend.
They started talking with George, because I remember after you said that we had saw a report that George and Mercedes were kind of talking about contract extensions, and then
but the loom
kind of died
Verstappen in the background.
I also saw a report that in F1's hard to keep up with because there's so many different sources.
You have a rumor a day.
You really do. But I saw a report that George kind of turned down Mercedes' initial offer, so there might be something to look into as far as that goes. But yes, that was the. Hey, Mercedes and George is going to have this thing locked up by Silverstone.
that was, my initial hope, but it looks like things are just going to continue as far as negotiations are concerned. I want to start with this question. Should Mercedes stick with George?
I'm going to answer your question with a question to you being the Mercedes man. Do you want Kimi Antonelli to be driver number 1, or do you want to experience what Kimi Antonelli can do as a second driver, or possibly 2 number 2 drivers or 2 number 1 drivers? Liken it to a Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri situation.
I think that it's kind of I can't exactly. I'm trying to make sure I understand your question.
Okay, my question to you is:
you think you're asking me, do I want to see Kimi be the driver 1, possibly if George stays, or is he a proverbial 2 with Max?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Like
I think that
2.
I think that personally, I like the lineup they've got. I guess I can be kind of blunt there. I was going to try to play this out as a reveal, but you've cornered me. I like the idea of what they have right now. I like that. I like the lineup from a long-term perspective and a short-term perspective. I think that if you decide to go with George, and it's a safe bet, you have a guy who can win races for you, has shown he can win races for you. Is he the number 1 best driver on the grid? No. But are there a lot of drivers better than him? Also, no.
Yeah, though you can't say that.
As far as right now, he's a guy who wants to be in Mercedes. He's a guy who has invested his entire career, and Mercedes likewise have invested back into his career. This is stability. This is going to be a championship level driver if the car's slam dunk great next year. Same thing for Kimi Antonelli. If you're grooming him to be a potential future world champion, this is the guy who's going to lead your team forward. Having George Russell as his teammate, as somebody who you can maybe catch, right? Like that's somebody that it could really become a competition, similar to how Oscar Piastri caught Lando Norris and is now leading the World Drivers' Championship just into his 3rd year. The sky's the limit for Kimi. Personally, I think the best bet and the safe bet and the likely bet is that they're just going to stick with what they've got. Toto has said this going back months that they're happy with the driver lineup they have. You're not going to not entertain Max Verstappen. Hell, even George Russell said that, look, if Max was available, I can't blame Mercedes for talking to him. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense not to. Everybody wants Max.
I want to say
if Max was a free agent right now, I could guarantee you that Ferrari would somehow be in talks.
I would think every team outside of McLaren would probably talk to Max Verstappen.
Yeah, but could you even blame McLaren if they were like, we talked to him?
Just talk to him.
Yeah.
Because I get so what you're saying. Silly season's crazy, but and it's wild because for the longest time we learned in Drive to Survive as well that Lewis had a verbal agreement with Toto is like, hey, unless I'm talking to other teams, you are not to talk to Red Bull about Max. So he never did. Now they're not in that situation anymore. My issue with it is George has done literally everything he has been asked of him in his first year being the number 1 driver. How are you supposed to tell someone, hey, we have these expectations for you, we need you to meet them? They meet those expectations, and then they're like, yeah, but you're just not exactly what we're looking for.
I don't think that's even true. I think that they're still very happy with George, and part of this is also contracts.
I think it's just because it's Max.
It's literally just Max. And Toto's obviously voiced his relationship with Max and the way that he feels about Max, and the entire grid has really just voiced how good Max is.
We know.
You have a guy, we talked about this a little bit off air, but you were 100% correct. And like, this is a guy who's possibly the Mount Rushmore of all-time greats for Formula One. Like, there are not many drivers I'd probably pick ahead of him beyond maybe Senna and Schumacher. You could debate even Lewis.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, when you have an all-time talent like this who might become available and might become a part of your team, and you feel like, hey, we can win some freaking championships starting in 2026. If you get the best driver and the best car and the best engine, like that is those are the 3 things you need to win championships. Yeah. I can't blame Mercedes right in the conversations.
Yeah.
As far as George is concerned, I also don't blame him. Martin Brundle talked about this in an interview with Sky Sports that, George has had conversations with other teams. But what other teams are there really right now? This is where the contract side of this comes into play. The leverage is really all in Mercedes' favor right now. Yeah. Because if Max wants to come to Mercedes, they can make the decision if they want him or not, right? If the number makes sense. right? If the infrastructure is there, they can say yes or no. And for George, you don't have another shot at winning a world championship. Ferrari are not open. McLaren are not open. Red Bull obviously are probably not going to be a championship level unit starting in 2026. You've got 3 options, maybe 4, but you're taking a gamble at Aston Martin, which Aston Martin is basically the only other place. And you have to hope that Lawrence Stroll doesn't get, his feelings attached so much to his son and really does want to win. Aston Martin's the only other destination available. Alpine, they're going to be a customer starting next year. They have no idea exactly what they're getting with this Mercedes power unit. All we know is from speculation that it's going to be the best engine to start this next reg with. But being the works team with Mercedes, that's the advantage. You know everything about that engine. You know how the aerodynamics work. You know exactly how to tailor your car to it. So as far as this conversation is concerned, there are a lot of different ways to look at it. The first question being, should Mercedes stick with George? I think yes. Let's say Mercedes go, what if we want to pair Max with George? Should they drop Kimi? I wanted to ask that question.
I'm actually shocked that you could even get those words out of your mouth.
But you have to think about it from all the angles. The other angle being, well, you don't want to drop George because he's a race-winning driver. You put all this into him.
Would you have to drop Kimi, or could you just make him a reserve?
You could put him in a reserve role, but you're going to have both Max and George for long-term contracts. Mm-hmm. So Kimi is going to leave if that ends up being the move. Personally, I disagree with it because Kimi's your golden boy. This is the guy you've had since he was 11 years old and karting. Now and you have literally built him into an F1 driver at 18. You feel like this is the face of your franchise.
Let me ask you a question though, because you kind of already talked about it earlier when we were talking about the midfield about Isaac Hadjar being the best rookie this year, and I know that's everything due to expectation versus what has happened. Mm-hmm. Though Kimi has had moments where he's looked great, he has not burst onto the scene as we might have hoped.
I think I disagree with that.
So would you?
I mean, a sprint pole in Miami is massive, and a podium in Canada is also massive. With the car that he's driving, he's already exceeded my expectations.
Okay, so then I guess my answer would be kind of redundant, but I guess my question is maybe Kimi isn't ready, and you go through and you do sign Max with George.
Realistically, as far as the Max and George tandem, I don't think it works.
Oh, I mean,
I really don't think it works.
They hate each other.
I mean, they just don't play well. They don't play well as rivals. They don't play well sitting across the garage from each other. No, they're not gonna work at all.
They don't eat dinner together. I mean, for crying out loud, we're gonna put them on a team together.
We talked about Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly not working well. We got to see all that on full display in Drive to Survive. I mean, if George and Max were teammates, it'd be weekly. Hey guys, let's stop fist fighting in the parking lot.
It's like, hey guys, we get it. Like
one of us is a father. We're too old to be doing.
We get it. P3 is really important, but I need y'all to quit wrecking into each other.
But is Kimi not ready? No, I think he is 100% ready.
I pose that more as a journalist more than a just how I feel.
Yeah, just to ask. So
I don't need y'all coming at me in the comments.
Look, realistically, they're not going to drop Kimi. No, so George, everybody's looking at it the same way as it makes the most sense. Like, if they were to go the direction of Kimi or dropping Kimi, so to speak, or reserving Kimi and going George Max, that would be the most shocking outcome. I just don't see it because Kimi's he's just too damn good. Like, look, realistically, he's just too damn good. Especially at 18 years old.
Yeah.
The things he's doing at 18. I remember when I was 18, there's no way I could imagine doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
No, not even close. So where does George go if Mercedes go with Max? The same question for Max if it doesn't end up with Mercedes. I think the only answer is Aston Martin.
Only answer is Aston Martin. And that's where he would get most money at either.
Well, yeah. I mean, Stroll would give him a bag. But Aston Martin have Adrian Newey. They're going to have a Honda power unit. The infrastructure there looks fantastic. I mean, Adrian Newey's even said it in interviews. Like, there's a couple of things that we're like a year or two away from being where we want to be. But everything that's happening in Silverstone at Aston Martin is state of the art and new. And the facilities are huge and the team is huge. They're going to try to win championships soon. They don't sign Adrian Newey for $100 million if you're not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
So I think when push comes to shove, Lance Stroll, go play tennis. You know what I mean? It's just going to be that way.
Or be our reserve.
Yeah, well, like the investor backing is going to be like, look, Lawrence, your kid is not going to win us a championship.
And also
Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen would be a hell of a lineup.
And also this is Max Verstappen.
This is Max freaking Verstappen. So, like, let's see. What else was I trying to go with this? I had some other points, but the other question I wanted to ask, because it's always be about money. I mentioned about contracts already, but like from a leverage perspective, Mercedes could be utilizing this as, George, like we might have Max hanging in the wings. Like, you want to take a little bit less in a very specific deal. Let's say, because George, I think, has earned at least a 2-year deal extension.
I've seen a 1+1.
You've seen the 1+1, but that's not a confirmed thing.
Of course.
So like a 1+1 would be shocking. I think that George has done enough to earn himself a 2+1 at the least. That gives you the optional 3rd year. If it feels like it's going great, you're going to opt in. You walk into 2026, 2027, 2028, and you have options. So as far as Red Bull are concerned, I think maybe Max is looking at this and going, well, the car isn't great. Are you guys going to give me a massive bag to stay here? Or am I going to start looking elsewhere? Elsewhere being, I want to go win championships still. I want to redefine the record books, and maybe I'm going to go to Mercedes. That's another conversation too. But realistically, at the end of the day, and I know it's the boring answer, I would be surprised if Max is driving for Mercedes next year. If George Russell is not in this lineup, where does he go? I mean, Aston Martin would make the most sense. Because also, when you're thinking about Aston Martin, you think about a classic established British brand. So like he would be a huge immediate face for that brand as well. All it does is make sense. But if Max wants to redefine his legacy a little bit too, similar to like a Lewis Hamilton leaving McLaren scenario, going to Mercedes, at the time it was seen as crazy and ludicrous, but then Lewis went on to win 6 more drivers' championships, won 8 constructors. This could also be a move for Max that like, hey, if you're leaving Red Bull, go to Aston Martin. That could also be a huge career-defining, legacy-defining, F1 history-defining thing with the infrastructure that I've already mentioned. So, well, Kevin had to go step away for a moment, but I do want to talk about this. We're continuing our silly season talking, and let's try again. Continuing the silly season conversation, there have also been conversations surrounding Valtteri Bottas going to Alpine. I think this is another member of the driver's market that we need to be talking about as a potential destination. Valtteri Bottas most recently spent his time with the Stake F1 team, had a pretty disastrous year for them. But Alpine are looking around, assessing their options, and apparently have reached out to Mercedes to gauge the option of picking Valtteri Bottas up for the remainder of this season as well. And Valtteri Bottas, I think, in a nutshell, solves all of the problems that Alpine currently have right now. Don't have any questions about his ability to drive the damn car. He's a multiple-time Grand Prix race winner. And what you do have in Franco Colapinto and what you do have in Jack Doohan so far have been 0 constructor points for an Alpine unit that right now are trying to fight and scrap for everything they possibly can. Fancy of you to join us again, Kevin. Obviously, life happens. You got to do a little bit of work, but
just got to check on things.
Got to check on things. How to check on things.
We're all good, though. We're all good.
Look, I don't think Bottas in a nutshell could be any worse than the lineup that they have right now. I think he's probably a lot more prepared. He's probably
I would say
he's probably taking the time off well. We know he's taking the time off. He's back in a place with Mercedes where he's been a nice supervisor, advisory role to Kimi Antonelli as well.
His social media presence has gone through the roof.
I mean, it's not like he was ever failing at the social media stuff.
Fair.
But
That's fair.
No, Bottas would be a fantastic pickup for Alpine. I think it makes
honestly,
it
would be a very good move for them because right now, who do people root for at Alpine?
Pierre Gasly.
I mean, but like even then, like we know that Bottas rules over Pierre Gasly. Like people love Bottas.
Well, if you're the French racing team, you probably really love Pierre Gasly.
I'm sure,
but
what
the other aspect of this too being from a technical side, you can't really learn anything from Franco Colapinto or Jack Doohan because they're still effectively rookies. Pierre Gasly being the only veteran driver you have on this team, all of the information and data and the feedback you're going to get from your driver is going to be a little bit more one-sided there. Bottas, with all of his experience, gives you 2 veteran drivers to really bounce off of and go, okay, is Gasly full of it as far as his ability because he's just beating the hell out of these rookies week in, week out? Or is the car crap? Or maybe is he underperforming? Right? You can start to ask some more questions about Pierre Gasly.
A little bit of everything, to be honest. I think that's something
I mean, look, Alpine are a mess. We know that.
I think that's something that we haven't done a good job at. Is we were all over this Jack Doohan situation when it happened. We have not said squat about Franco Colapinto absolutely crapping the bed since he took over that seat.
Yeah, they've been out of sight, out of mind as a team.
They have been, which
isn't necessarily great.
No, that's not good.
Especially if you're fighting in the midfield. We highlighted all the other teams up to this point in this.
We said everyone, but Alpine. So
they infrastructurally they've been a mess. Leadership wise, they've been a mess. And right now, I just think you need stability in the seats. Like Bottas would be stability. You bring him in mid-season now, maybe given a 1+1, right? You give him this half season.
I think you could put
year,
anybody in that second seat, and they're going to save you money. The rate that Franco Colapinto's crashing that car.
I mean, both their rookies have had moments, but overall performance-wise, I just think that Bottas is going to give you a higher ceiling.
I agree with you on the performance.
They invested a decent amount to bring Franco over, which to them would be another loss. But it's not like Flavio Briatore has been anything but shy, any bit shy, excuse me, when it comes to making driver swaps. So I'm just saying,
Alpine need to blow it up.
Look, Bottas just makes way too much sense. You can at least get two consistent, solid drivers between Gasly and Bottas for the rest of this season to figure out where the hell even are we.
Well,
and then B, you walk into 2026. Let's say this is your lineup. Cool, like we can start to figure out if this is working or if this isn't working. But you have a much more understood and a much more solid base.
You have consistency, but that would make two teams available for Valtteri to make a decision between Cadillac and Alpine.
And speaking of Cadillac, right? Another driver that's been tossed into that conversation, Yuki Tsunoda, of all people, has been tossed into the conversation for Cadillac.
So I'm going to ask you a question, because what that tells me is Cadillac is, hey, we think Yuki Tsunoda is a good driver in a bad car or a bad spot, and we think that his potential would be better on our team. Would you read that the same?
No.
Or do you think it's like, hey, we just need someone who knows how to drive a car?
Well, kind of, sort of both.
Okay.
Not 100% either. So
that's kind of how things go between me and you.
That's fine. But I think that Yuki Tsunoda brings a number of different things here. I think Yuki's a very decent fit from a marketing perspective. A lot of people really, really, really like him. You're going to bring in some of those Red Bull fans who have been attached because of Yuki. The Japanese fans, obviously, too, being a big part of that.
Well, you could have two Red Bull guys there.
Well, we'll get there. So, but he's very popular. I think he's a natural second driver alongside any veteran, whether you decide to go with Checo Perez or Valtteri Bottas. And he's going to still be able to give you the insight you need from an operation standpoint. What's working, what's not working. I've spent time at VCarb / AlphaTauri my entire career, but I got a good look into what Red Bull have been doing too. In 2026, he's not going to be there, but you can still look at what they did and what they have done and what does work and what hasn't worked. I mean, look, Red Bull have been a hot mess. They've been a hot mess outside of Max Verstappen. He is the one thing keeping them out of obscurity right now. But Yuki Tsunoda can still walk in as a veteran driver at this level and say, this is what's worked and this is what doesn't work. On the opposite side of the garage, I feel like everything is pointing towards Checo Perez, because for that perspective, there's so much marketing money tied up within Perez alone. The sponsorship money is going to be massive for Cadillac, considering how much they're giving to the rest of the grid to even just be there for the first, chunk of their contract. Yeah. So do I think it's a good fit? Sure. But he's also joining a list of guys that include, like I said, Perez, Bottas, Mick Schumacher has been a name associated with this seat. Zhou Guanyu has been associated with this seat. People even talked about Daniel Ricciardo, maybe kind of, sort of being interested for this. Colton Herta from the IndyCar circuit. There are a lot of guys thrown into this conversation. As far as merit and as far as we want a driver who was on the grid as most recently as 2025, walking into this operation, I think Yuki Tsunoda is a good fit, rather than possibly two drivers who have been away from the sport for at least a season.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I think Yuki Tsunoda still got something to prove.
Yeah, and we still got more to talk about because it's Silverstone week, it's Track Talk week, and Kevin totally prepared, which is why I'm handing him my notes right now.
I'm still gonna botch it too. That's the worst part.
You can there's a part in there where you just hand it back to me.
Let's see here. It doesn't say hand back to Tristan. All right, let's see here. 52 laps. 5.891 kilometers, or because we're American, 3.66 miles.
Absolutely.
For lap records, for the race record.
For Silverstone, historic Silverstone. This is my favorite circuit on the calendar, by the way.
Know.
I love it.
Max Verstappen, Red Bull 2020. Tell me if you've heard that before. 1 minute, 27 seconds, and 97 thousandths. Is that correct?
97 hundredths?
Hundreds. I knew that.
907 thousandths. Yeah.
Okay.
Why are you reading like a book report?
I don't know. I was trying.
You know this information.
I was trying to make it dramatic.
This is not working.
This is not working. Well, they're here. They're your notes.
All right, they are my notes.
You understand them better.
Look, that's the race. That's going to be the race lap record there. Qualifying wise, Lewis Hamilton smoking in 2020 as well. 1 minute, 24 seconds, and 0.3 of a second in 2020 in the Mercedes. The most wins, Sir Lewis Hamilton, with 9 of them things. Most recently, last year, an incredible win. We're going to talk about that in a moment. 2 DRS zones between turns 5 and 6, as well as 14 and 15. And it was built, kind of a funny question, actually. So it's a former airfield for the Royal Air Force beginning in 1943 through 1946 during wartime, if you're familiar. You know what war that was?
What was the question?
What war happened between 1943 and 1946 within that time frame?
I'm going to.
You graduated college.
I did. Now, as a history major.
Neither did I. Come on now.
I don't know. World War I. I don't know.
World War II.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
UNT, get your boy. The first F1 race at Silverstone, though, 1950.
I'm here to talk cars, not wars.
The first winner here, Giuseppe Nino Farina in an Alfa Romeo. The first Grand Prix winner ever. Also, the first F1 drivers champion ever. Fun facts: the home Grand Prix for Lewis Hamilton, which you already knew, George Russell, which you already knew, Lando Norris, your boy, it's his home Grand Prix, and Ollie Behrman. This is also technically the home Grand Prix for the Aston Martin F1 team, considering they are, like I mentioned earlier, based in Silverstone, right across the damn street. But 9 out of the 10 F1 teams are all based in the UK and are all basically within like 30 minutes of this place. Let's see here. Racing in Silverstone began in 1947. Going to give you some more fun facts here. When a group of friends organized a race with 12 drivers over 2 miles, and during the race, a sheep wandered onto the track and was struck and killed, with the informal race being referred to as the Mutton Grand Prix. Some of the biggest moments in this race's history. I already talked about 1950. F1 is born. Giuseppe Nino Farina takes the flag first in front of King George VI, as well as a young Princess Elizabeth, who would go on to be Queen Elizabeth, who just passed away kind of recently. Her son, now King of the country. Let's see. The 1967, Jim Clark makes it 5 race wins here, driving the iconic Lotus 49. Jim Clark earned his record 5th British Grand Prix win, which stood for 52 years. 1987, Nigel Mansell dummies Nelson Piquet from 3rd to the race win. Mansell sent a fake onto the outside of the hangar straight. That's that second DRS zone. And baited Piquet, pulled the switchback, took the lead, and then never looked back. 1991, a Williams taxi service. Following Nigel Mansell's monster win, he assisted Ayrton Senna back to the pits. An amazing picture, and you definitely want to look this one up. It's a great picture. Him riding on the Williams side pod after his McLaren ran out of fuel. 2008, Lewis dominates in the wet. His second year, McLaren driver lapped damn near everybody that wasn't on the podium for his first Silverstone win. 2020, 3 wheels only necessary for the final lap. This is the iconic moment where Lewis, his front left basically exploded, and he carried it all the way home with a 30-second lead over Max Verstappen, still held on and won the race with 3 tires. And then 2024, if you were watching last year, you got to see it. Lewis Hamilton winning his record 9th British Grand Prix, grabbing the top step for the first time since Saudi Arabia in 2021. Huge day, highlighted by mixed weather, some ambitious tire strategy, and one of the many McLaren botches of that season. Thank you. I accept applause. I also accept tips. Research done. Thank you. No, I love Silverstone, though. This is a fantastic racing circuit. The conversations around Silverstone going into this weekend have been that this is a place that they should be racing for forever. Even Stefano Domenicali said this.
I mean, they extend contracts pretty much till forever. So much.
I mean, yeah, if Miami can get till 2041, this thing better be on the grid.
That's what Austria just got.
Yeah. So put this thing on the grid for till 2050.
Till we die.
Yeah, basically.
Then you can do whatever. But until we die, we need Silverstone.
All right.
They'll never get rid of it.
This episode's been huge, but we got to hit our predictions. Let's take a look at the P10 standings, buddy. P10 prediction time. P10
we
prediction time.
don't have to look at the standings. I thought we could just like talk about it.
You don't want to look at them? You had a good weekend this weekend. 11-point weekend for Kevin. Yuki Tsunoda. I forgot who our DNFs were. Didn't matter. We didn't pick it right at all. We didn't pick Carlos Sainz to be the first DNF, so it didn't matter. But you got.
Why didn't you put the DNFs in here?
Because I when I was out of town, I forgot my script.
Slacker. Hold on.
I've got it somewhere. It's not that big of a deal. And if need be, I'll adjust the points. But I know for a fact you didn't pick Carlos Sainz. There's no way. Neither of us picked Carlos Sainz.
Who did you pick?
For my DNF, I don't remember.
I'm on it.
Wow. Okay. So as far as the P10 standings are concerned, I still have a nice little lead at 126 points. Kevin sitting at 88. He had a pretty good weekend, though.
I did pick Bortoletto.
Yeah.
I remember that because while I was watching the race, I was like, man, could not have been more wrong.
Yeah, right? So Yuki Tsunoda pulled off a really good weekend. No, not really good. He only had, technically, he would only gotten 6 points. He finished in 16th. I think he was last of everybody who finished. That wasn't Franco Colapinto. Yuki Tsunoda didn't quite have a great weekend, but Lando Norris converted his pole to win, so got Kevin the bonus 5 points. Nice. An 11-point weekend to my 4. He's creeping up slowly, but surely. Still got a long way to go throughout this season. As far as this week is concerned, though, in Silverstone, let's go back to full screen. P10, who's your prediction?
This is gonna be hard, dude. This is gonna be really, really rough. P10.
I don't even know if we can go to the Williams well because they can't seem to finish.
I don't
even know if they start races anymore.
So here's the fair. Here's the deal with Williams, dude. Like they either DNF or they finish like P5, P6. Like that's kind of like their only.
I mean, Carlos had a
like how many times has Williams actually secured a P10?
They did it. Carlos Sainz did it in Canada.
That's it. Like there is no point in going to the Williams well. There is no Williams well. They either finish above P10 in the points or they don't, and they miss like Q3.
Who's your pick, buddy?
My pick.
You gotta let these people go. We've been on here for about an hour and 10 minutes.
My pick for P10. Let's start with race winner first.
Okay.
I'm going to go. I know you're not going to, so I'm going to offset you. I'm going to go with my boy. I'm going with Lando Norris.
You're going to go with Lando Norris?
Yes.
I'm going to say George Russell wins.
Okay.
He had a pole position here last year. The car had a water issue. They had to retire early. And overall, I think the temperatures for this upcoming weekend are going to be a little bit cooler. It suits the Mercedes. This is a circuit that they have a lot of obvious history of winning at. I think this is a George Russell win in front of the home fans this year. So I'm not even going to go with the McLarens. All conventional wisdom tells me I should, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go with George Russell.
Okay.
All right. DNF or P10? What do you got?
My DNF.
Stalling. Where is stalling? Stalling?
My DNF is going to be give me Yuki Tsunoda.
You're going to go Yuki Tsunoda. I am going to go with Ollie Behrman. I'm going to say Ollie Behrman suffers some kind of an issue. He's the first DNF. It's unfortunate. Home race, but it happens.
Okay.
All right. As far as P10 is concerned,
I want you to go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I know who I'm going with. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay. So now he knows who he's going with.
I stall for a reason.
He's stalled for forever. I'm totally not stalling right now. I think I'm going to go with... Who are you going with? I honestly...
I thought I was Mr. Stall.
No, part of me really wants to go with...
Here's what we'll do. Here's what we'll do. On the count of 3, we're going to say our driver at the same time.
Oh, man, I don't even know who I want.
Okay, we'll decide who you want. Lock it in.
Oh, man, there's only 20 options to pick from.
Well, you picked a DNF and you picked a winner.
I sure have. You
So
know
there's
what?
18.
All right, I've got my pick.
Okay, all right. You ready on the count of 3?
1.
We need to start doing this too. All right.
One.
1, 2, 3. Alex Albon.
Sainz.
All right, there we go.
We're not going back to the Williams well. We're not going to go back to the Williams well.
I'm going to
One of
mark
us is
this.
gonna be pissed.
I'm going to mark this and then go back to it. So that way, whenever I'm like, we're
What-
going to go back to the Williams well, that's literally us
I
going
wish
to
we
the-
had. I wish we had sound bites.
both
Or,
of
like,
us going
just
to the
drop
Williams well.
It. Drop it right there. All
Hey,
right.
producer. To be
Yeah.
determined.
TBD. Well, we got to get the funds up. Sponsor us. All right. We didn't have anything really in the way of comments this week.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, if you gotten this far into the podcast, we're absolutely going to talk about the F1 movie. This is going to be the last. This is going to take up probably the next 45 minutes because we don't agree on this. I liked it. Kevin did not like this movie.
Which is fun because I'm typically not the hard critic.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I actually did like this movie. I wrote out general details on why. Look, it's a fun action movie. It is a popcorn movie. It is a movie you go to the theaters to see. It's got good action. Visuals were fantastic. That is something that both of us agreed on. The visuals were great. Joseph Kosinski did a great job putting together a lot of the race footage. I liked the aspects that they gave us for the inter-team stuff. There are some problems with this movie, however. There are some aspects of this movie, and this is so far non-spoiler. There are aspects of this movie that I did have problems with. I don't think this is a perfect film, but as far as just like fun summer blockbuster style action movies are concerned, this is your classic kind of action movie script. It's not going to revolutionize everything, but it's a fun movie. It's going to get some people into the sport. And then when they watch their first Grand Prix weekend, they're going to go, what's qualifying? So yeah, now go ahead. I'll let you go.
I have loosened, whatever word you want to use.
Lessened
Lessened. Yeah. Okay. So I said it right the first time.
Yeah.
I've lessened my hate for this movie. Honestly, I never even hated the movie. I've lessened my disdain, my issues for this movie. If you have not watched an F1 race, if you're trying to get into F1, I highly encourage you to watch this movie. The visuals are absolutely fantastic.
If you're starting from zero or very low, yeah, this is a great movie to just like kind of get into.
The visuals are absolutely stunning. They're fantastic. They give you the angles that you can't get from, say, Drive to Survive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The visuals are fantastic. The music is stunning. The scenes are great. Like, the breakdown that they do give is very good. Now, here I will go. Spoiler alert. If you have not watched, scroll. Find another one of our shorts to watch. I never bought into Brad Pitt's character.
If this is the end of the episode for you, by the way, thank you so much. Subscribe.
I never bought into Brad Pitt's character. You completely miss qualifying. Nobody wrecks 30 feet in the air. Let's see where else.
I'll fact check you on that. Okay, continue.
30 feet in the air.
I've sent you this clip. This is based off of there is a crash in the movie that it is based off of an F3 crash that did happen in Monza that looked just like that almost. And it's based off that and Romain Grosjean's crash in Bahrain. They mixed them.
Okay. Nevertheless, it's not very common, but either way.
It's certainly not common.
Either way. If anybody wrecked into that many markers onto a track, they'd be banned.
Yeah.
For sure. Black flagged fan.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, they'd be done.
Plan C, buddy.
Yeah, plan C.
Plan C. Plan chaos.
What else happened in this race that I did not care for?
You mean the movie?
Or the race, movie, whatever. Lewis Hamilton.
You can't completely skip qualifying and then walk onto the grid on a Sunday to race.
Not typically. That's not typically how things go.
No, not normally.
So also and then I'll just end it with this. Nobody is going to walk into Kick Sauber and then immediately start fighting for race wins. I don't care who you are, other than maybe Max Verstappen. But if I'm not wrong,
all right,
they didn't go out and hire a Max Verstappen. They got Sonny Hayes, who was like, we're talking 3 decades since he drove a Formula One car.
Okay. I have some pushback.
Okay.
All right.
Hit me with your pushback.
All right. So generally speaking,
but before you get into the pushback, if you haven't watched F1, I highly encourage it. I think the film did a good job of what it was supposed to do. I think the characters could have been better. And I'll end it with this. We do not need a sequel.
I can't wait for the sequel. So
F1 Part 2.
F1 Part 2. It'll be great. No, so Brad Pitt's character in the movie he's not 63 the way that Brad is in real life. He's supposed to be portrayed as somebody in his 50s. Now, that still sounds like it's really old. But remember, there is a rookie on the grid this year named Fernando Alonso, who's in his 40s. So, I mean, the suspension of disbelief is not as drastic. As far as the crash that you mentioned, it is based off of an F3 crash that did happen in Monza at the Parabolica that did send an F3 driver flying almost into the shrubs, like hit the fence, the whole nine. And the car catching on fire in this movie is based off of Romain Grosjean's accident in, I think, 2020, 2021. An insanely scary incident that it's incredible that he was able to walk away from. But nonetheless, that's what it's based on. So there was some foundation to it, whether it's realistic or not. I don't know necessarily that I would agree with it was realistic, but again, this is Hollywood, this is movies. We got to get some stakes, we got a big action, we got a big crashes. Let's see. Yeah, they never showed qualifying in this movie. That is a real critique of mine. There's a lot of stakes to be had within that. The idea that a team can go from last to fighting for race wins is not unfounded. And I'm surprised that you missed this because you're a McLaren fan who watched them go from absolute dirt to the back, from the back of the grid in Oscar Piastri's first season to, by the time they got to Silverstone, they were fighting Red Bull for race wins. So it is not impossible to make the leap from the back of the grid to the front if you upgrade the car effectively.
I guess.
The inter-team dynamics of this movie.
Then you should have done a better job of highlighting the upgrades.
Well, like, again, this isn't a technical analysis.
They made it like, hey, this driver is the reason why we're winning. Not like, hey, we absolutely scrapped the car and then redid it.
They characterized the upgrades as being a huge part of that. I mean, they gave you a really good technical look, by the way. Within the movie, you got to see 3 different facilities. You got to see the outside of McLaren.
I did enjoy that. I did enjoy that they went inside and showed you the wind tunnel and showed you some of the upgrades.
I did enjoy that stuff. That, like, hell, you don't even see a lot of that, like, generally from the media.
Yeah, I did enjoy that part.
We got to see, I think, the simulator from Williams, which is a part of that movie later on when Joshua Pierce is realizing that, I really shouldn't have tried to overtake Max Verstappen at the Parabolica and the what? How crazy. I should have listened to the old man. We got to see the interiors of Brackley, which is where Mercedes headquarters is, and the exterior shot of the Apex GP headquarters is the McLaren building.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a nice touch. We got some good access for that. As far as the qualifying thing at the end of the movie, Sonny can't just walk back on the grid, and with those level of medical issues, probably would not have been able to drive the car
for sure.
But again, it's fun. It's movie stuff. The villain of the movie was a real bastard. I'll say that. I mean, he sucked. I mean, he purposely defying the team. I thought he was an interesting little antagonist towards the end of things. Javier Bardem's character is a lot of fun. As far as the actors are concerned, I think everybody actually had a lot of fun doing this movie. Brad Pitt seemed like he was really enjoying himself. His character isn't terribly complex, but it doesn't need to be. Joshua Pierce's character, I liked his character. I liked his role in the movie. I think they could have fleshed his character and his development out a little bit more. His arc maybe a little bit. The crash, I wouldn't really call it a crash. The incident he has at the end of the race with Lewis, I thought was an interesting touch, because Lewis at the end of the movie is, he the amount of aura he gives, by the way, in that final shot, it's sick. But I love the touch that Lewis, being the producer of this movie, could not have himself lose this race normally. He had to lose because he crashed with Joshua Pierce's car, and then, through goes Sonny Hayes. Right. I love the touch of the through goes Hamilton in there too.
Oh, okay. I was about to ask. I
absolutely picked it up. I absolutely picked it up.
Okay.
The exposition on the outside of the movie, sometimes where they were explaining things a little bit extra, but you have to kind of explain things to non-fans. I get it. So yeah, the movie has some problems. Sonny winning that final racing scene in Abu Dhabi was badass. I love that final section of the movie where they obviously is the race lead. He's got the Ferrari trailing behind him. He's flying.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was sick.
The music was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. The outside soundtrack, the song with Doja Cat in it. I've listened to that a lot before the movie. I've actually listened to it quite a bit since. I think Tate McRae did some stuff for it too. Hans Zimmer was the main soundtrack artist for this. Hans Zimmer always delivers. If you're a movie buff, you're gonna love everything that man does. He was also the music director for Shark Tale. Fun fact. So now you know. But yeah, I loved it. I had a really fun time. I would not tell anybody not to go watch this movie. I've
given multiple people recommendations.
This is a fun way if you're like, oh, I've never gotten into F1, I've never watched F1 before. You can watch this movie and then come out of it asking questions to your F1 fans
or us.
You know,
please.
What did you guys think of the movie? I want to know what the TLPs think. If you've gotten this far into the podcast, by the way, this is our longest episode to date.
This year we've ran some audio ones that were,
I don't know. I think this is our longest one yet. We'll go back and look, but I'm pretty confident in that statement.
Lots of shorts for me.
Look, overall rating, if I had to get a number, I'm going to give it a 7.5, 7.7 out of 10. It is a fun popcorn movie. Go see it in theaters. You pay for the extra experience. Go see it in an IMAX.
Oh yeah.
If you got
IMAX,
a theater that has like the moving seats, I got a chance to experience
40X.
that. Dude, awesome.
Yeah, I wish I could have been able to do that. That would have been sick. I watched mine in XD. You can watch it XD. You can watch IMAX.
But this is a movie you go to the theaters for. 100%.
You go to the theaters unless you just got the most sick setup of all time. But if you can't watch it in the theaters,
hook the racing rig up to it.
Yeah, that would actually be kind of sick. Anyway, yeah,
fun movie.
I actually agree. 7.5 is good.
Yeah. All right. With all that being
changed my opinion a little bit.
With all that being said, this is a banger of an episode. We got to
get
get the hell out of here. I got to go home and tend to my wife. With all that,
sounded weird.
She misses me. I miss her. I want to thank you guys so much for listening to this entire episode. This is a monster episode. We had a lot to talk about. If you haven't joined the rest of the TLPs yet, make sure to subscribe to the Lapped Podcast. It costs absolutely nothing at all. Helps move us on up the algorithm. Subscribe, share us with your friends. Give this episode a like. If you've listened for an hour and a half almost at this point and you didn't like what we were talking about, I'd be surprised if you didn't want to drop a like. Give us a like as well.
Definitely go subscribe.
Definitely subscribe. Get the bell on if you're feeling dangerous. Until next time, be safe, be well, and let's go racing.